Hey everyone, just wanted to give you a quick garden slash channel update. As far as videos are concerned for next week, as far as the 12 astrological signs, I'm going to try and get 6 to 8 of them. I'm going to go back inside and do that today so I can post them up by tomorrow. Okay. I did do all 12 signs, just some of them differently than the main 6 to 8, okay, from last week. So if you want to vote on those, I'm going to count on those as well at the end of the month like we did last month, okay? So, like any of the signs that you're following for your astrological placements, or if you're cross-watching as well, okay? And I will tally those up in the last week when I do all 12 again, okay? And then we'll be able to determine like what we're going to do for June, right? I will have a busy couple of weeks. I do have a couple other new projects and some co-parenting tasks to do over the next couple weeks, so I'm not sure what time I'll have, but I'm going to do my best to get at least 6 to 8 of the popular signs that were voted on in April done. And if I could do weekend messages for everyone else, I'll do that. As far as the garden is concerned, we still have our 4 guys hanging out in their little chrysalises, and they're all dark. This one's hiding behind. You can kind of maybe see the pattern of the wings inside that one. Alright, I love it. I love it that you can actually see that. So, any day now they should hatch, okay? We also have some new additions, so I brought in 2 plants for that. Look at this little baby. Now, I believe this is, if I can get him to focus, there you go. I believe this one is a stage 2 monarch caterpillar. You could see his stripes. I think it's stage 2 when their stripes come in. Before that, they're all just brown. So I brought in some leaves that had eggs on them. I also created a little nursery. So there's leaves in there with eggs on them as well. And we got some little guys over here too. Let's see if we can find them. They're so tiny. Okay, let's see if you can see him. It's too hard. You can barely see him. And then there's this little guy here. If I can get up close, can you see him at all? Right there. Here's my finger. There we are. They're so tiny right now. But yeah, I did see at least 5 or 6 baby ones. And then there were, and I can't find the others right now. They're too tiny. They're not big enough to see, so they're hiding. But I did find a good maybe 10 or 12 eggs. So I brought these 2 plants in there, and I'll get some more plants in here as they need them. Alright. Now I'm also going to do a garden intro series, starting for the garden series, an intro next week. Once I get a bit more organized out here and not going to trip on anything. It's still a bit tidying up. But for those starting their gardens, obviously you're going to need some watering methods. I would start collecting from all of your recyclables, okay, because that's extremely handy. I literally save everything. You're going to need gloves. You know, you're going to need pots and things. These are great for like long neck bottles of any kind. The thinner, the longer the neck, the better. Are great for sort of a self-watering method. For those that want to grow from seed, biodegradable egg cartons are going to be your best friend at first until you can start getting these little guys, okay? Have yourself a bucket or something. This is an old, mopping bucket, I think, that lost its handle. And then you can kind of start doing some stuff. But just start collecting little things that would be handy. I still have some things to install here. We have a little bird feeder that I'm going to use as a fairy house. We have our bat house that we need to install. And then this magic holder thing I found at Goodwill. So just start with free items that you can find, okay? And collect any seeds of things that you think you might enjoy. You're going to need tools, okay? Hand tools of all kinds. I've got some loppers in there and some clippers. I've got even a kitty litter scoop in there that's been very handy for sifting dirt. Of course, you're going to need your trowels and your rakes and all that kind of stuff as well. Alright? I would also save anything that could be used as a stake or a post, okay? Wood is great because then you can create frames out of it for any type of greenhouse tenting you want to do to save on plants. And pick yourself up a roll of painter sheeting. It's cheap. It'll last you a long time. This one's 100 feet long, 30 feet wide, so it's going to last a while. That you can actually make greenhouse tents out of in any size, depending on what you have. You can MacGyver one real quick. Alright, so that you can keep your plants going through the winter. I've also saved things like clothespins and hair clips and stuff. I found them very useful. All your twisty ties from the grocery store. Even old binder clips are helpful, along with rope and tape. This is like floral tape that I had found. So, these are all really handy things to kind of have laying around for when you need to like clip plants to whatever lattice that you've made, or, you know, put your greenhouse tents together, okay? So now's a good time to actually start collecting this stuff and also doing the research on the plants that you want to do. I will quickly give just a brief a brief tour right now, okay? And I can tell you a little bit about what's here. Alright, the first plant is aloe vera. This sucker lasts a long time. And as you can see, it's doing pretty well inside a 12-inch pot, okay? And it's a great plant to use. It's very healing, and it's easy to grow, and it'll grow pups every, I'd say, year, okay? That you can actually put into new pots and have more of, okay? So bear that in mind. These guys will grow about 12 pups every year to make more. So you really only needed to start out with one, okay? And they last through the winter. They survive cold weather pretty well. What you see here is all zonal geranium. Now, zonal and seed geranium are two different things. Seed geranium starts from seed, and it's not very strong. However, zonal has been propagated from seed geranium, okay? And it lasts a very long time. These are perennial. And whatever pot you give it, it loves whatever you give it. However much water it gets, it's drought resistant. It survives winter really well. It may get battered a little bit by hail, but all those cuttings that come off of it, you can actually propagate and make more, okay? These guys are been hanging out in these pots probably for a few years now. I would like to get them bigger, so the more space they have, the bigger they'll get. I've seen geranium grow to be like 8 feet tall, if given the root space. So whatever pots it has, it'll make use out of it. All right, and they come in all these wonderful colors, and I think they're good for zones 5 through like 11, which is pretty much almost all of them. Okay, and they're a perennial. Next one up is hyssop. I just discovered this one this year. It is a butterfly nectar plant. It grows to be about 2 feet tall. This is a new one I just potted, so it's maybe about 6 inches tall. I will show you what one I planted about a month ago looks like now. So that same size pot. And voila, a month later, look at it taking over the pot already. Okay, it's a fast grower, and it'll be beautiful and strong. It's also a perennial, so it should last every year for several years, okay? It's also a hugely spiritual plant as well. It cleanses, it protects, it transmutes. So I have one underneath pretty much almost every window so far, and every door. And of course, you may recognize this one. This is white sage. I have, I think, 3 of these guys. In very huge, 30-gallon pots, I think. These are my biggest ones. So I figured give it as much room as possible. It should grow to be like that tall. I've seen them get huge. I also have another variety of Salvia officinalis as well. So I'm going to try both and see how they do. God, they feel really good. Super healthy. Oh, and it smells amazing. Oh my goodness, smells amazing. So, this one's also pretty good as well. I think the other one has the tag to it. Can't find it. If I recall, the ladies at the nursery had mentioned that this plant is good for zones 6 through 11, if I'm not mistaken, okay? Of course, it loves drier, hotter climates and a lot of sun, so it does better in the desert. But you can essentially grow it anywhere. If it gets too cold, you just keep it warm. Give it a blanket. Give it a greenhouse blanket. Then up top here, I have intentionally picked up parsley I will not eat. And this is for all the swallowtail butterflies to enjoy. They love these plants. They're host plants. They're also their nectar plants. I won't need to mess with them. They can just hang out when they're ready. When these plants get nice and huge, they'll eat the flowers. I won't need to mess with them other than just keeping them watered. And they've tripled in size since I've gotten them. So I put them on the top shelf of my little shelfie thing here, where my marigolds are. I have a ton of them. So that should be fun for Day of the Dead. Then here I have another perennial. And the marigolds are not perennial, they're annual. Same thing with the parsley. This is Vicks plant. If you rub your fingers on the leaves, you'll smell it and it'll immediately make you think of Vicks Vapor Rub. That's where they got it from, is this plant. And they do produce beautiful purple flowers. This one's been with me 8 years. Started out really small, loves the planet it's in. Much like geranium, it'll take a lot of abuse, cold and hot. Many of you would recognize this sucker. This is rosemary. Also a perennial. And of course you could use it in your culinary pursuits, your spiritual pursuits. It smells amazing. It's very strong. You can propagate some of these little guys as well. The younger ones anyway. Like this one would be perfect. That one right there would be perfect to propagate. So you can make more of them. They'll just take a while. Something you'll have to be very patient with. Give it a lot of warmth when you do propagate. In the back there we have ivy geranium. Perfect for hanging opportunities. These hang over the wall and offer like a beautiful backdrop. Also perennial. Very hardy, very sturdy plants, these two are. And of course you'll recognize the French lavender. We have lots of it up front. Trying to get more of it in the back. Perennial, they grow like, that one's maybe a year old. It's already huge. We got some new ones we got to put in. And these have been here about 5 years, since being babies. So they do grow well and they fill up space. A little goes a long way, one plant. This is French lavender, if you can see it, okay. It tends to be pretty hardy, but they have different varieties too. So I would look up what works best in your area. This would be a good time to visit all your nurseries, get some ideas, okay, as to what you would like to grow. So if you have limited space and you don't want to fuss with replacing plants every single spring, aim for more perennial in your garden, okay? There you go, guys. Have a good one. Bye.